river area here. So the river is going on like this. And then you take a bus to go up to Machu Picchu. So you see this zigzag road here. So I'm drawing on it. This is the bus ride. And it takes about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. It's a very sort of adventurous bus ride because you are in the bus and you look down and it's very, very steep. And then you arrive this gate area. And then there is a small hotel there, actually. That's the only hotel by the entrance. And I think it costs like more than $1,000 to reserve a room there. Most people stay at the bottom of the valley where there is a small town. And then the Machu Picchu, which is showing in many guidebooks and tourist publication, is this area. So this area will be enlarged later up there in the other model. And particularly, the area I'm showing is this location here. So Machu Picchu is talked about by many archaeologists, architects, historians, and no one really knows exactly what it was when it was made more than 400 years ago. But as you look at it today, as you go there today, there are two sort of major precincts. So the area here is supposed to be probably a quarter for people to live. And the area I just hatched here is where some kind of rituals took place. So there is a domestic quarter and ritualistic quarter. And I want to add a little bit more things. So you may actually see this thin line going up the mountain, going all the way like this. And then there's also another thin line going like this. This is so-called Inca Trail. So Inca people lived on this side of the South America, and then they traveled from probably like Mexico down to Chile, and Peru is in the middle. And then the path was made for Inca people to move around at high ground. Today, you can actually go hiking on this ground. And actually, a couple of days ago, I took my students. I'm too old to do this whole path around Machu Picchu, but my students took a 4-day hiking tour, including very steep hill climb up to 4,200 meters. A little bit of experience you get is from Machu Picchu. If you visit there, you can go up to this top of the mountain here. And it's called Huayna Picchu instead of Machu Picchu. And then there are some remains of archaeological pieces also there. And it's about 1 hour to get up there, 1 hour to come back here. I'll show you one more famous location on the other side. So now I'm on this side, I'm waving. I hope you see me. So from Machu Picchu, there's also another trail going on the other side of the mountain like this. Like this. And I know you're wondering, can you actually pass here? And you actually can. There is a very, very narrow walkway attached to this rock side. And then Inca people actually went back and forth on that trail. So this is part of the Inca Trail Network. And I was told when I went there a year ago, this path is currently closed because there is about in the middle here, there is a little bridge. And if I can just draw it here, there is one pass here, and there's another pass here. And then here is a little wooden bridge, which is around here. And it was supposed to be a protection device. So enemy comes, and then you actually drop this wooden bridge so that enemy cannot actually cross over. And it was open to the public until some years ago. But some years ago, some tourists came here and then supposedly dropped like this. And he died. And since then, this pass is actually closed. So it's basically about sort of whole composition. So I'm not expert of Machu Picchu, but I've been there a couple of times already. So it's a very interesting place. You need a lot of physical fitness to get there with thin air up on the mountain, but the view is spectacular. So I recommend everybody to visit there if you have a time. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a small model, but before showing you the small model, I'll tell you a little bit about how we made this. So this big model, which we call mega model, is made by scanning through drone and a technology called photogrammetry. So photogrammetry is a method to make 3D models from photographs. So I guess many people here already know about it. But basically, photogrammetry requires many photographs. Just like if you have two eyes, you can see the depths in the space. And if you only have one eye, it's very difficult to get a sense of the depths unless you move around. If you have 100 eyes, you can get a very good representation of the three-dimensional environment. So if you take a lot of photos from the air, you can make a model like this. And it comes with texture because the model is based from the photographic reconstruction. So that's how we made this model, by flying the drones with a little camera and then process the photographs to make this model. Before I go to the small model, I'll try to do this. So I'm making the model bigger. So if you're around, you can start to get the sense of the size of the enormity of this thing, right? And if you are on the same side as I am right now, you see the river bed, and then you see Machu Picchu on top of the mountain, right? And the reality, I think, is much bigger. So the model is actually getting through the ceiling. But I think this view is pretty interesting. I will try to rotate around. And then, so if you stay there, I will try the same thing from the other side. So like that. Yeah, so it's very steep. Okay, so I'll make the model smaller. Now you start to see the little piece I was talking about. So this piece, oh, I'm hitting my physical table, sorry. So here, right around here is this piece. And so I was just talking about the domestic area and sort of spiritual area. This is the main part of the spiritual area. And I will move this model onto the table so you can gather around the table. Then I'll make it a little bigger. So if you could gather around, I'll tell you a little bit about the composition of the space here. So there is this hilltop area. And then at the foot here, there are some structures. The structures include 3 enclosures, 1, 2, and 3. And these are called a temple complex, complex of 3 temples. And historians think there used to be some roof over the stone structures made by wood and hatching. From there, you can go around like this. So if you are a tourist, you are taking a guided tour this way to go on top of the hill here. Then you can traverse the hilltop and then reach this final destination. And if you get really close, there's a little stone here, which is called a sacred stone. And I will invite you there later in the teleport mode. And then passing that, you can go down the hill like this. And then you go around, and then you go down like that. And then you can visit other areas. So that's an experience of a visitor, typical visitor, if you visit there today. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. So Russell actually, I think, is waiting now for me to teleport you into the space, and I will do that. But I'm an architect, and when I experienced InsiteVR for the first time, when we had a hackathon at MIT, and Russell's company helped us to implement a hackathon, and then he let us use this system. And what I was very much surprised, because I previously had this VR phobia. I didn't like headsets, and I didn't like kids playing games with headsets, especially. And I tried a few times, but I got very sick. But I was immediately surprised when I used this system. And one of the reasons I was very surprised was the ability to do this. This is something you can never do with a physical model. So as an architect, we make different models and different representations of the artifacts. This is a really interesting experience. You can scale objects interactively. So you can examine the model like this from the air, and then you can see the composition. And then gradually you can make it bigger and bigger to the degree you feel you are in the same in the space at certain at the more or less sort of a physical. I'll just delete all the markers. Yeah. So I will put some people in the temple space this way instead of teleporting for now. So now I think you are starting to feel that you are in a real physical space because of the gradual increment of the scale. And this is very interesting because now you are immersed in an enclosure. And then you, on the other hand, you lose the sense of the total composition of the space, which you are looking at from the air. And these two can be seamlessly integrated like this way. So this was a really incredible experience for me, and I like to do this when I show my model to many people. But I think that's kind of enough. So I will teleport you also into the space now. One thing, the other thing I found was the model we make here the whole thing has around million polygons. That's what we decimated the model down to for this presentation. And then there are many photographic textures. And from where you are, I think the model looks pretty detailed at this scale. You can get pretty close, but still the texture of the stones and some natural objects looks pretty good. But if you make it really big, of course, you will start to see a problem in resolutions. And if you teleport down, you will not see the same level of sort of a physical details because the texture is not big enough. Now, so I'm going to teleport in the middle of, so we are going to visit two space. One is this middle of the three temple complex. And then after that, I'm going to take you to this sacred stone area. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to teleport in there. And then I just learned from Russell how to take everybody there. So I will gather everybody around me. Are you there? So I think you are behind me. And then I'm showing you a few things we prepared. So I'm getting closer to this little photograph, which we placed in there. So I hope you can see this photograph, right? And you can get close to look at the photograph. So this photograph is a photograph made by the expedition team of Yale University, led by a guy named Hiram Bingham. Bingham was the supposed to be the discoverer of Machu Picchu from the Western world, because of Machu Picchu was there for a long time, and after being abandoned by original settlers, some local people still was inhabiting in the space. So it's a Columbus story of discovery of America. But people, Bingham is very well known as somebody who put Machu Picchu in the history and in the map for everybody. And when Bingham went there about 100 years ago and found this place, he took a lot of photographs. And I have 3 or 4 photographs geolocated in this environment. So on the map, you see this stone here. And that stone is actually in the space. I'm going in there. Yes, so Russell is pointing at it. And there is a stone piece in front of this big stone. So this big stone, and I'm going to look back. So you see me in the position of the person in the photograph, right? So you can probably compare the size of my virtual existence to the size of the person in the photo. And you can clearly probably see that texture or the pattern of the stone exactly corresponding in the two space. Okay, so there's one more photograph. Before doing that, I'll show you also one more thing. So the size of this space from here to here is about 8 meters. It says 7.53, which is about 25 feet or so. So this thing is kind of to the scale, and you are experiencing the space accordingly. So there's one more photograph, similar photograph. I'm getting closer there. So I'm going to use a different color. So this is the second photograph I'm sketching on it. And you see the shape of this stone exactly the same today as previous shape. I heard some part of the structures collapsed because of some natural force and also earthquake, and some pieces have been restored. But more or less, the condition of all these structures remain the same as the time Bingham discovered this location. Only big difference is that 100 years ago, there are a lot of vegetations covering this site. So it was not as clean as you see today as a tourist location. It was very much covered by lots of vegetations. Okay, so now on top of the hill, behind this temple, there is a very, yes, there is a hilltop. And I will, you can either follow me or teleport up there. I think I will try to use this tool. Well, actually, I'm going to teleport first because it might make some people dizzy. So here, here, and then gather. So I guess you are behind me now. So we are on top of the hill. And the stone you see in the middle is that sacred stone. And I have one picture here also, which is this picture. And as you see, 100 years ago, this place was very much covered by plants. And what you don't see in the virtual world, but you see in the picture is the background here behind the stone, which is the mountain behind Machu Picchu. And in the big model we had, but in this small model, we don't have the background. So we see a clear sky behind the stone now. And the background actually shows the portion where there was a bridge and a person fell off into the valley. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this. So you can wander around a little bit this hilltop location, and
just
yes, and there's yes, and there's another photograph. So I'm going to invite you there also from the other side of the stone. So moving slowly. So if I gather people, so this is the second photograph. Oops. I think I did wrong. Sorry, I put you back into a wrong space. I'm going to. Yeah. So this is a second photograph. So one challenge I found was the resolution of the model. So in a tour like this, you want to have a large geographic map or geographic 3D model that locates many things in a broader context. And then you want to have a smaller area for immersive explorations. And then eventually you want to have a stone like this piece, in a very high resolution representation. We have a model like this, which we didn't upload here. But for showing these different types of representation at different resolution, you will need to swap the model in and out. And eventually, I think software will probably do it automatically, like you see it on Google satellite map today. If you zoom in the 2D map, the data keeps loading on and on and on, so that you actually see a very high resolution model of the details if there is a data. There is a similar level of detail models format being developed, but I think not widely implemented. So that's something I think is a challenge for architectural or archaeological representation or presentation like this one. I hope everybody can listen to me.
Yeah, we can
Okay,
hear you now. You can go back into your
so
riff.
now, actually, I don't have the control of the model. I think Russell has the control as a host.
Yeah, I'm the host right now, Takiko. If you want, you can just come back down to where you were and continue talking, and we can just finish up from here.
Yes, see, actually, the audio everybody behind me first, and then I will try to go down the hill with you. So gather. Okay, I have a few people behind me. So now I'm going to go down the hill. So I'm well, my see
Oh, I think you're a little geometry in front of you. You have
my
something on the ground.
something is not working.
Here we go.
Oh, I got it. Okay, so
Hey, Takahiko, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
So I started the meeting. It seems like there's some the meeting keeps on closing itself for some reason when you started. So maybe we could just walk down together while I'm host, and then we can just have like a question and answer period at the bottom near the three temples.
Okay, so I gather everybody around.
Yep. Let me go ahead and gather
You
everyone
have,
for you.
I think you have the control right now, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So I just gathered everyone up here, and so I guess we can walk down the steps together here this way.
Yeah, or you can walk us onto that space on the air, position on the air, and then we can talk a little bit. It's in the last one of the view.
Yeah.
View. Okay, so we are at the final location. I recommend you not to see below if you are afraid of heights, because we are on the air. So you see one photograph on the left, which is a photograph taken by Bingham from the top of another mountain nearby, looking down to the Three Temple area. And beneath you is the mega model of Machu Picchu, and right around here is where the temples are. So I guess this is the sort of end of my talk, and thank you very much for listening to me. I hope what I was talking about makes sense with you with 3D model. And if anybody has any comments, questions, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Takahiko. I'm gonna give you a virtual round of applause right now. So tapping my hands together here. I
Thank you very
have a
much.
couple of questions, and also if anyone else has questions, you can like raise your hand, and I should be able to see you, and I can unmute you. A lot of I think we lost a few people in the last round when we had some people dropping out, but I do have some questions. So I guess the first question I have is, how did you get like approval to do this? Like, what was the process to kind of even scan this?
Okay, so at the beginning, it was a small project. So MIT has this mechanism to invite people from different countries, different organizations to collaborate with us to make some seed project. I use that mechanism, which comes with a small funding, to get connected with a university in Cusco first. And then we decided to work on Machu Picchu because it's a great location. I've never been there at that point. As a target for cultural heritage practice, it's of course one of the best ones. So we started the project, and then gradually we expanded. And what we were very lucky about was the organization, the government branch, which runs Machu Picchu location, was very accommodating. And I showed them some of the projects I did in different locations, in China, Japan, Italy. I had other projects. So they were thrilled to scan and also make some digital presentation. So since then, we collaborated. They take us to all sorts of interesting locations in and around Machu Picchu. And we are trying to come up with some exhibit which can be made through our collaboration. So permission always is a big issue for cultural heritage practices like this. And about this particular location, we are very lucky because we could form a very productive collaborative process.
Cool. Thank you. Thomas looks like he has a question, so I'm going to unmute you, Thomas. And all right, you're unmuted.
First of all, thank you for the presentation. It's very interesting. Oh, also, can you
Sure. Yep.
don't have any animated objects, but if you have animated figures, animated clouds, if you visit Machu Picchu, everybody likes llama on the side. So we can place synthetic llamas moving on the side, and then you get more sort of a sense of the real location. So all these things are, I think, in our interest and potential plan.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? Raise your hand. Is that question over here, Laura? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna unmute Laura. Let's see if we can get her audio. You're unmuted.
Okay. Hi. I was wondering that with materiality and authenticity being concepts in historic preservation that are very traditional and kind of set in stone, how do you think that using VR, using virtual models like that can affect preservation positively and beyond the educational purpose of it?
So I used to work on lots of modeling based representations. So I use Rhino and AutoCAD and 3D Math, and they make digital models. And then you have very good visualization tools today, like radiosity, global illuminations. You can make it really looking like real. But the models made synthetically like that always is different from the reality, because reality is dirty. It has weathering, it has distortion of the artifacts. And also, reality actually changes. Reality changes every day from morning to sunset because of the movement of the sun, rains, weathers. People come in and out. So the sense of space being occupied is very different. And if you visit a location in the summer, it's very different from the sense of the space in the winter. All these things are very difficult to capture with synthetic models. A scanned model, on the other hand, it is very good to freeze a moment into the digital model. So you can look at it very closely if the scanning is done properly. The model tends to be large, point cloud is large, texture map is large, so there's some technical issues still. But it gives you a very, very different kind of perspective on the artifacts. For preservations, I think you probably need both of them. The frozen moment scanned model is obviously very, very useful for many purposes. The constructed CAD model also has a place still to show, let's say, structures behind the surface, or superimpose, let's say, the roofs of Machu Picchu, which used to be there 400 years ago. So both of them, I think, combined, you can concoct a very complex and variety of way of looking at the location with different kind of intentions. So this will be, I think, it is sort of yet another very powerful tool that should be added to the tool set of conservationists and many other historian type of people. I'm not hearing anybody.
Sorry, it looks like Laura has a follow-up question. You're unmuted. Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay. To follow up on that, I agree with you. VR can be a great tool for preservationists. Do you think the availability of this diminishes the actual value of a cultural significant place?
Okay, so that question I heard from many people. And it's a very interesting question. So that I think one would think if VR becomes very, very sophisticated and very fast, very ubiquitous, and really real, people will not go to Machu Picchu, and people will just put the headset on and then go to Machu Picchu, Cappadocia, Paris, London, wherever they go, they want to go. And the real location loses its importance.
Akiko, are you still there? I think we might have lost your audio. Shu, if you're still here, can you see if maybe Takiko can rejoin? Oh, Takiko, are you back here? Wait, let me unmute you. Takiko, hello. If Takiko,
I think. Can you hear me?
we can hear you. Shu.
But we can't hear Takahiko, right?
Maybe if Takiko's near you, Shu, maybe you can jump into your headset because we seem to be getting pretty good connection from you, but his seems to be unstable.
So, okay. Yeah, can you come here, team? Vibe seems like more stable.
Okay, Russell, I became virtually Sue.
Takiko,
Yes.
Shu.
So Takehiko died. Takehiko virtual died, and reborn as Sue. So
we
what I was
also-
talking about. Yes.
Your audio from you. We can hear you loud.
Yes. So I hope you can hear me now. So the anecdotal evidence I have is that when I show my projects to many people, people actually want to go to Machu Picchu. So I think it's a opposite effect. People who never be interested in Machu Picchu or going to Peru now, after watching this, they really want to see it in reality. So the real physical reality is something else, which is probably the most precious thing, and no virtual or any other type of representation can replace. And good representation will actually increase the value of the physical reality. So that's my current conclusion. Of course, it might change in 100 years, but hey, I won't be alive then, so I can say, yeah.
Thomas has another question. Unmute you, Thomas. Okay, you're.
I don't hear the question.
Seems like we're not getting audio from Thomas's headset.
Oh, let me check. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So both drones and photogrammetry, to some extent, have become very available for hobbyists over the last few years. I just wonder how feasible is it for somebody with a few $100 to make a big model like this, or is it still not super accessible to make something like this for the common person, so to speak?
Okay, so photogrammetry is a very economical method to make a model like this with some specific characteristics. So photogrammetry, you only need photographs which can be made with smartphones or consumer digital camera. You just need to take a lot of photographs. So this small hill model probably have somewhere between 500 and 1,000 photos from the drone. If you are on the ground and then capture one of these stone enclosures, you probably need like 100 photos around it to make a representation of a structure. So that's very cheap. However, there are things photogrammetry can do and it cannot do. For instance, photogrammetry does not work if the target has a featureless surface. So, for instance, if you want to represent a white architecture, it doesn't work because it doesn't have any points to hook onto from the perspective of the software. So a target like this is very, very good because it's made of stone mostly, and context is nature with lots of small small feature points. So all the dirty, architecture locations like this, they're all good for photogrammetry. But shiny, white, new architecture is not good for photogrammetry. The other thing is photogrammetry can be done through aerial photography, like the drones we use. And drones are also becoming very, very available and economical. You can use a drone which costs maybe $500 to make a model like this. On the other hand, what's become very important issue is the permission. Because as you know, if you buy a drone and then if you take it to wherever you want to go, which is some kind of important location, chances are drones are already prohibited. So over the past few years, drone became very available and proportionally locations to fly drones became very, very scarce. So that's the situation. Technology is becoming available, but the social structure is becoming more restricted.
Okay,
So I think another way of saying it is anybody can do this. If you have a small amount of funding to buy cameras and a drone, but on the other hand, you will need to negotiate with the site. So the nature of the project is changing. It's no longer a technology-based project. It's a social-based project. And the value of the project, I think, is also shifting from technology to social values, which is the same for most of the media technology in the history of mankind.
That's very interesting.
How many pictures do you how many pictures did you take for this entire model?
So so if you have more pictures, you can get more details. And if you take photographs closer, you get more details too. So the mega model you saw at the beginning actually had fewer number of photos because it doesn't have much detail. If you get very close to that mega model, you don't see much detail. But overall shape can be modeled from photographs taken quite a bit of a distance from the site. Yeah, this one. So this one, we did probably like 20 by 20 grid using a drone, and the camera was looking down. So probably like 400 photographs will make something like this. The smaller model has probably 500 to 1,000, maybe even more number of photos because it was captured with a drone flying very close to the object. And also it was combined with photos taken by us on the ground, maybe half and half. And then the model was produced.
The final product, is it like an OBJ file that you upload to InsiteVR, or what is the final output?
I lost the first part of your question. If you could repeat that.
Oh yeah, is the final output like an OBJ file or an FBX file, or what do you usually work with when the final
yes.
product?
So the we use software which is okay. I don't know if I can just say the name of the software, but we use two software. One's Autodesk Recap, which is a free software. So for classes, it's a great tool. And it doesn't need much to learn the software. You just feed the photograph and wait a little bit, and Autodesk people will process the photos on the cloud, and we get the model back. It has its own limitation because it's an automated process, but it's free. And then we use some commercial packages like PhotoScan. There are a couple of very good ones: PhotoScan, Capture Reality, and so forth. And it has some cost, but you get more control over the process, and you can work offline without the internet. So we use different software, and they make basically first, they all do the same thing. First, it makes a point cloud model, and then they will do the texture mapping on that using the photographs. And then the resulting model can be any format, but it can be OBJ, FBX, any format native to the software you are using to make the photogrammetry, and then you can exchange the data. So the 3D model is very exchangeable because it's just a textured OBJ file or a textured some kind of 3D model format. Hello?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear us, Shu?
Yes.
Go? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Let me see.
Should I ask a question again?
Oh, sorry. No.
Yeah, I will also add one more thing. So I think what was really successful, in my opinion, what I was very lucky about when I started to do this using InsiteVR is that the first experience of InsiteVR I had when we actually met at MIT was to look at one of my sort of fragment of one of my scanned, captured model, photogrammetrically captured model, not a CAD model, which was modeled by hand. And for some reason, the photogrammetric model had a great impact on me when I was using VR. Because I have previously used VR headset with geometric models, and it looked like games, and it looked the visualization had some limitations because of the speed required for high quality rendering and so forth. So I wasn't very excited, and then actually when I met Russell for the first time at MIT, I wasn't very thrilled to wear the headset to test anything. But I looked at the photogrammetric model, and then immediately I was so excited. I thought it was a new thing. It's a new thing for architects and designers because it was so it was so I don't know, emotionally sort of a affecting experience, not just analytical of the geometry.
I mean, when we first met at MIT, it was the first time I really saw like a fully complete photogrammetry model in VR, and it really blew me away too for the first time. We weren't even sure if it was going to work, but it did. And yeah, I hope as VR becomes more prevalent in society, like your work basically will enable millions of people to actually experience things they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And I know you and Shu and your team are working on more sites, right? And so I hope as time goes on, we can also share those with people as well. And I think this is a good first step. I know there's only there's only about 15 to 20 people here this time, but I hope in the future we can get even more people and share it with a larger audience. I think that's the dream. that we have. So I want to thank you for being so embracing
Thank you.
of this technology.
Yeah, thank you, Russell. You actually introduced me to the world of headset, and I hope in the future we can do this with like 200 people in a lecture style, and I think it will really revolutionize the way people teach design. People teach locations, archaeologies, history. I think it's going to become really an exciting change in our society.
Yeah, me too. All right. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, I'm just gonna unmute basically everyone now. Feel free to kind of stay in the model and explore. Takiko, again, thank you for joining us, and you can you don't have to stay, but I'm gonna invite everyone just to kind of explore it and hang around you. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. This is
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Eloa, for the thumbs up.
Thank you.
Very nice thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Unmuted.
Thank you very much for the. Yeah. I see that. Thank you very much.
Eloa, how's it going? Ça va bien? Ah, bien, bien. Merci de nous rejoindre. Thanks for coming by. It's almost as big as the model you scanned with your bicycle.
Yeah. I was wondering if it can be useful for kind of technique, Because here it's cool when you want to photograph a lot of big space, but for 200 meters space, I think that the ZMini would be really nice.
Yeah. For anybody who's still around, if you point with your right hand to the model, you can actually go down into it. If you want to explore sort of the model in first person.
Yeah, but
Big model is definitely important. It gives you a good view.
Also, if you open up your menu that's floating underneath you, you can go to the little eye icon and click any of these views. They'll bring you to specific points in the model there.
I don't know about the audio thing.
Hey Russ, can you lower the model to have the model on the table? Bring it down. Yeah. Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Yes.
Is it hard to import?
If it's a Revit SketchUp file or FBX or an OBJ, then it works basically. Yeah.
It can support a lot of.
Yeah, we support up to. Oh, for the Go, I think the upload was 9 million, and for this desktop, I think it's 25 million. Is that right, Russ? Russ?
Yeah, because I was thinking about if one day you want me to make a small exposition of the scanner with the ZMini, I can do it.
Oh, I would love to see how your model looks in this. Yeah, and then that'd be interesting for sure.
Technically, in 1 week, I have to scan a huge place with results.
Oh, really? You got a contract for scanning?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, what are you gonna scan?
I don't remember the name of the place, but it's a big place like this with roads, and it's about 200 meter, something like that.
Oh yeah.
And so there is a station, something like this, and they need the 3D model of the building, but not just the shape,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I'd love to see that.
And the idea is what, you know?
Oh, like clean it up and stuff.
And then
Nice.
how can we erase something?
That's right. Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I know you can erase the me homework.
You're not allowed.
Not allowed.
I was the cameraman before, so that's why I was like with my hand raised all the time. Wondering. Hey, Eloy, can you help me take like a nice camera shot here? I'm filming right now, and I was wondering if you could help me take a cool shot. Can you teleport down here and then walk down the steps?
What do you want me to do?
Oh wait.
A video, a screenshot of you? Or...
Oh no, I'll.
Wait, I lost myself up. So what do you want me to do?
Oh,
Is
can you
to,
go here on the plateau and then walk down the stairs?
Oh, I almost dropped it. But I don't know how I can move with it.
Oh wait, what headset are you using, Eloy?
Huh?
What headset are you using?
The Microsoft Windows.
Oh, so with your left joystick, you can actually.
Yeah. But the problem is that I don't have battery anymore
Oh.
on the left one.
Gotcha. Okay, no worries. Yeah, you can-
So I can teleport, but I don't think it's what you want.
that's all right. Cool shot. Yeah. Oh. No. Yeah. Well, I think we're closing the meeting here, but thank you so much for coming by, dude. I know it's late over there, so I really appreciate it. All right. See you, man.
I need now to find the Easter egg.
That's the thing. Yeah.
That's the thing, yeah. Bye, Thomas.
Bye, Ella. Oh.
See you next time.
Yeah. See you, man. Bye now.